Welcome to Life Coaches Unfiltered, where Desiree, Dory, and Michelle, three life coaches, are here to answer the questions you have, but we're afraid to ask. No fluff, no filters, just real talk to help you navigate life's big challenges. Let's dive in.
Hey, hey, hey! It is episode 10, season 2, episode 10 of Life Coaches Unfiltered. This morning, it is just me and Michelle. Womp womp. Dory has some life stuff going on, so she's taking the morning off. So we're sending her love.
Yes.
But we are continuing our discussion on narcissists. So we talked last time about how narcissists show up in relationships, like how these patterns can show up and how you can spot them. And today we'll be talking more about narcissistic traits. But we'll do a quick little check-in, just check in with how Michelle's doing. What's going
And
on?
Desiree. And Desiree. I'm doing all right. I feel pretty good this morning. I had some sleep. That's a good thing. Because I haven't been sleeping very well. And maybe that might be a topic for our next episode. As soon as we've had that conversation before we got on live on air. But yeah, no, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm not liking this cold weather, cold and damp, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is just reminds me of my homeland, hence the reason of the bright lights. So I'm not suffering from sad.
Michelle is Michelle is battling sad.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
terrible.
it has been cold and rainy. And I don't
Yeah,
like the cold and the wet. Anyway, yeah.
that's what England's all about. And then when you have the daylight saving time, and then you get up in the dark. I used to get up in the dark and go home in the dark, and that was just even worse.
Yeah, man, yesterday I woke up and my watch is connected to my phone, so it like adjusted normally. And then I got in the car and I was like, why does it say 10 o'clock? I'm way behind. And I think that's why Michelle had a little shindig at her house yesterday. And I thought it was at 1 o'clock. And then my phone goes off at 10 minutes to 12, like, hey, Michelle's party is starting in 10 minutes. I was like, you're crazy. And then I still showed up after one because I was like, well, the hell with it. Like, I had a comedy of errors this weekend
Hey,
related to time.
hey, daylight saving time always messes people up, so
Uh,
there is no judgment here. No judgment.
Anyway.
Judgment free zone.
I get in the kitchen and I think that I get time blindness when I'm in the kitchen because I just get into and you read this recipe and it says 40 minutes. This can take you 40 minutes. It takes me like an hour, over an hour. Like just double it for Desiree. I don't know. Maybe I had some cleaning of the kitchen to do before I got started, and so like that I did not factor in. And oh, anyway, but yeah, and then yesterday some goofball turned the oven down and so that it wasn't at temperature, so I was baking things to bring to your thing. And yeah, I was like, oh, this isn't done in the time because some dingbat turned the oven down. Who lives in my house? Me and my dog. It was not my dog.
It was your dog.
No, she does not. She can't
She
reach the
can't reach the
stove.
oven controls.
No. And my oven is so old that I cannot control it from my phone. So it was not
That's funny.
there's no there's no excuse. It's an old-timey knob thing. But you know what?
Fancy.
That thing it works. I think about getting new appliances and I'm like, I have a really old reliable stove.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, or don't change it, should I say? If it still works and bellows out the heat, keep it.
I tell you what, it's reliable, and so is my washer and dryer. Like every time the repair guy comes, he's like, "Don't get rid of this. They're mechanical. I can fix these." I was like, "Yes, sir."
I know. I know. Mine are old, and he's like, yeah, don't buy a new one because by the time you buy a new one, you'll need to fix it after a year. And I'm just like, that just does not sound great.
Absolutely not. No.
Oh,
So let's do a quick little intro about narcissist. Narcissist is a buzzword today. And in the last episode, we talked about it being like a continuum. We all have narcissistic traits. It's rooted in self-preservation. And so today we're going to be talking about different types of narcissists, kind of how you can spot them, or narcissistic behavior. But yeah, like a lot of this is more moderation and how you're going to see it. And but sometimes you meet somebody who is this has quite a bit of these patterns. And a lot of what we're going to talk about, I pulled from a book that I'm reading. It's called It's Not You by Dr. Ramani. She is an expert on this topic. And we'll have a link to buy her book in the show notes. So if you're interested in learning more about this, It's Not You is a book specifically about healing from narcissistic abuse. So yeah. And then yesterday we were kind of chatting about it with some guests at your shindig, and they
Yeah,
were like, "Oh,
I
I
want to be on your podcast. Interview me. I can talk about some narcissistic people. Yeah, that was funny.
I was encouraging them to submit some questions, but yeah, I have a couple. There were a couple situations that were dropped that we might be able to talk about in future shows. But yeah.
That's funny. That's very funny.
So Michelle, what is kind of like, do you want to share what are your thoughts on narcissists or how, like you've shared in a previous episode how this has shown up in romantic relationships.
Yeah. You know what? It sounds horrible, but I feel, and I think Dory said it. Like narcissists are sheep's in wolves' clothing. Like they appear to be nice and all, and will do anything for you, and then all of a sudden there's this like switch. You're kind of like, where's this coming from? And I feel like they're two-faced, two-faced people as well. Like, once oh, I was gonna say something. I don't know whether everyone's like in astrology, but kind of like a Gemini, like when they have two faces type deal. Um, you know, they'll show one nice face, and then after a while, this other one will come into play slowly and eventually, and then it's kind of like, well, which person am I supposed to believe? And yeah, yeah, it's, and it sounds sad, but it's like, when I get to know people, like I take my time. Sometimes I feel like when I was younger, I'd be like, oh yeah, this person's great. And then after a while, it's just kind of like, well, actually, no. I think my spider senses have gotten better of detecting some of the narcissism that people can have. So yeah, I just that's how I feel about them. Like two-faced, maybe Geminis. What are your thoughts?
Um, it's interesting when you say that your spidey senses and you take time getting to know people. I
Yeah.
met somebody probably 2 decades ago. We had a mutual hobby and we met at a conference, a local conference related to that hobby. And I remember like wanting to be her friend. Like really, I was like, oh, I could be friends with her. And yeah, and she just took her time getting to know me. And I talked to her about it. We've become very close friends now. And she was like, "Yeah, I had to make sure like like I take my time getting to know people." I was like, "What's that like?" Like, I'm Cajun. We make friends in the grocery store, right? So I used to jump into relationships a lot more quickly. And then I am learning that I need to be more discerning.
Right.
Um, but one thing that stuck out when you were talking about your spidey senses as well is Brene Brown talks about once you see a pattern, you can't unsee it.
Hmm.
And so I think that was in The Gifts of Imperfection. I picked up that quote from her, and I have found that to be true. I'm much more, I don't know, aware of things that people say that have been harmful in the past to
Mm,
me. And so if somebody is criticizing me about silly stuff, I'm like, do we really need to say those things? And so that's where my little spidey senses start to speak up. And I think the thing that has been the most hard thing that I've had to heal from was like having a belief in myself, like believing. We talked in the last episode so much about how the narcissists thrive on confusion. And that's how they
Hmm.
maintain control. And so I was so confused after some relationships that I was like, what happened? And then I didn't trust myself. And I was always, I mean, even as a kid, I didn't trust myself because there was a lot of things that were in our family dynamic where I was told like, you're just being whiny, you're the youngest, whatever. And then I started to doubt myself.
Hmm.
It was a family pattern. I won't get into any more than that. But um it I never developed this trust in myself. And so I had to do that as an adult in my midlife years. And I don't want to lose that.
Right.
And in order to not lose it, I have to be aware
Mm.
of what the landscape could look like.
Yeah. No. And I also feel that with that, the fact that not trusting yourself, onto the opposite side, these narcissists want you to kind of make them feel valid as well. And it's kind of like, like I feel like insecure in myself, but I have to validate you. I'm just kind of like, what in the what, huh? What's going on? And I can think of a person that I dated that needed that validation and that admiration. And this is someone else, not from who I spoke about last time. And they just needed to hear all these things all the time. And I'm just kind of like, but I want you to validate me. But it was no, no, I'm not gonna validate Michelle. I need my chip to or my ego to be boosted more, more than I need to boost you. And I'm gonna put you down a little bit more. And that was just horrible to the point again. I was just like, you know what? I've had enough. Had enough. Had enough.
But a lot of times in narcissistic relationships, it starts with love bombing, where
Yes.
they're showering you with attention and love. But so this is a quote from Dr. Ramani's book. Narcissism is about deep insecurity and fragility, offset by maneuvers like domination, manipulation, and gaslighting. We talked
Mhm.
about gaslighting 2 episodes ago, so that was episode 8, season 2, episode 8. So that those tactics allow the narcissistic person to stay in control. The traits aren't the issue, but rather how these traits translate into consistently harmful behaviors. So
Yeah.
when it starts to erode your trust in yourself and your like the best kind of direction or the best thing that I ever did for myself was working on developing my sense of self, my trust in myself, and my
Mm.
love of self, of what I love about myself, so that coming into a relationship, I'm not as um like I'm not as swept away by all of the comments or all like if someone love bombs me, I'm like, oh, I know that I love myself. I don't need this person in order to feed
Mhm.
something that's missing in me.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes total sense. And it's just so funny because I'm sitting here and I'm like going over, and this is going to sound horrible, right? Well, I think it's horrible. So I remember dating this person, and I'm like, telling him that I love him and everything, and he literally turned around and say, "I love you, but I love you like my sister." And when that person said that to me, I was just kind of like, well, excuse my French, I do not fuck my brother. Because it was just kind of like, how dare you say that to me? Like, and he was just like, yeah, I just want companionship. And I was just kind of like, okay, but you want companionship and you're telling me that you love me like your sister? I'm validating you like I love you and blah, but you're telling me that I love you like I was just kind of like, who the hell says that shit?
That was bizarre. That seems very bizarre.
Bizarre? Oh my God. Yeah, bizarre. But again, he liked his whole ego stroked and everything, and I was just like, wow. So I will never forget that line in my head because I'm just like, wow, you are a piece of fucking shit. Sorry.
Ah, so
Brings back
most
all these memories.
oh my God. I feel like I should apologize to you for triggering all
No,
these
no,
crappy
I love
memories.
talking about it because
Oh,
someone may be in the same situation, you know?
yeah,
Then
totally.
because again, it carried on like, the love bombing and oh, I miss you and da 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 da. And it's just like, yeah, but you said that line to me. Like, that
Yeah.
doesn't sound like we're gonna get married or anything like that. No, no,
Yeah.
no.
So one thing that I really loved that I read in Dr. Romani's book is a narcissistic person's needs will always come first in a relationship.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, because I am like, by nature, I am a giver, right? So I want to give and like love on you and take care of you and cook for you. Like
Yeah.
anybody who's been in my life knows that like I feed people. I jokingly say I'm Cajun and that's how we love you is we feed you. And so, yeah, and that can easily become a one-way street, where you're always all of your needs are being eroded,
Mhm.
in order to put this other person's needs first.
Yes, I would 100% agree. Their needs came first.
Yeah.
Yes.
And most people are dealing with like moderate narcissists, so they offer enough good days to keep you invested, but the bad days hurt you and leave you confused. And so, um, I picked up this. I don't remember who to credit for this, but the metaphor of a slot machine. You never know what you're going to get. And we talked a little bit about that in the last episode
Yes, we
too.
did. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I mean, that is totally right. There are going to be good days, and you're just like, oh yeah, everything's nice, everything's good. And then, when the bad days, they're going to hurt you, and then you're just kind of like, oh well, it's part of being in a relationship, and it's how it's supposed to be. And again, sometimes you can be left confused, and then but then you're just kind of like, no, I want to remember all the good things.
yeah. Yes. That was so hard. I remember during my divorce there was a lot of people were just angry and pissed off. And I was like, but I had some good times with my ex. Like
Mm,
there was some times that I don't want to forget, you know?
yeah.
But yeah, so it became it was very much the slot machine, which is hilarious for anybody who knows my dad had a hobby of refurbishing slot machines. So I grew up with slot machines in the house, so that analogy was very, or that metaphor, whatever, was
Oh.
very particular. Yeah. So anyway, but most moderate narcissists have cognitive empathy. They understand the concept of empathy and they know that what they're doing is not necessarily copacetic. Like they know it's not okay. Um,
But they just keep on doing
but
it.
they don't have like the skills to stop themselves, right?
They do not.
Sometimes, especially with covert narcissists. So let's get into talking about
Ooh.
um like this their behavior is rooted from this deep sense of unworthiness, um and like low self-esteem and needing to be validated, just like you said, right? So let's start with a grandiose narcissist, which is the classic what people think of. So do you want to kind of go into that?
Yeah, so these ones are just gonna be like very charismatic. They're gonna be very charming, they're gonna be very arrogant, and I'm sure you're probably sitting here thinking, oh, there might be someone that comes to mind already when I think of those things. They are going to be attention seeking. They just want to talk about themselves all the time. And then they don't like to be challenged. And when you challenge them, that's when things just kind of kick off. And then they're going to start attacking you. And it's just kind of like, so, if you're in a situation where, you've got a boss, let's put it in, because this can happen at work, where you've got this boss and you're giving them lots of ideas and you're thinking that you're helping the team, and then your boss takes your ideas and you don't get any credit for it. Yeah, those are the types of people, you know, that you got to look out for. but they love all the glamour, they love all the success, and look at me, and I'm so successful, and I do this and do that. Yeah, they're show-offs. They're show-offs, and it's so funny because I feel like one of my best friends, she attracts these all the time.
So
All
one
the
thing that like and we were talking about this yesterday too is when we grow up in a household, we think that it's normal. And we think everybody else's experience is similar to
Mm,
ours. And then that becomes what feels like home. And so someone I met recently talked about how he wants to break patterns, his familial pattern of, unhealthy relationships. And I was like, me too, right? Like that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure out where are the things that I need to learn and how can I show up and be a more healed person.
mm,
Um, and that has ripple effects throughout your family because it interfaces how you interact with your family members.
yeah.
And so if you had a parent that had some of these tendencies, and I mean, I love my parents. They're both gone, so they're not here to defend themselves. So I'm not trying to like sour their reputation or anything. But I'm looking at them like, okay, where did some of this stuff show up in my household, in my family patterns? Um, and a lot of times when people pass, we have this tendency to only remember the good stuff, but they were whole people with good and bad traits. It doesn't mean that I love them any less. But yeah, so it might be interesting for people to start to like examine some of these descriptions and see where
Yeah.
this might have shown up in your life that you didn't pick up on
And
before.
it's great that you said that because when you are growing up with your family, this is all you know.
Mhm.
And until you kind of get outside of the family unit and you discover things for yourself, then you can like think, well, was this supposed to be normal? But in our heads, we're kind of trained to say this was normal until we have that, till a situation turns up and then, we may get therapy or whatever. And there may be that discussion of, well, shit, that may not have been normal. It's not the norm, but considering it as the norm. And then you take that even as an adult of, oh, this is normal. This is how I should be acting. No, you should not be acting like a narcissist because it's not nice. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard because you kind of follow what your family tells you to do in your family unit, and then you see all the things that you're supposed to do, but you don't know whether it's right or wrong,
Yeah.
or
And
whether
even
it fits
I'm sorry.
or whether it fits you because you've been programmed to do it and then you continue it. But is it really the person that you want to be, so to speak? I hope that's making sense. If it isn't, I apologize.
It's
I
making
haven't had
sense.
enough tea this morning.
All right, so then we'll talk about the vulnerable or the covert narcissist.
Oh,
This one is so it's a person that's like victimized, anxious, socially awkward, sullen, irritable, sad, resentful. Those are kind of the descriptors. Um, so two things that I thought were really interesting: victimized grandiosity. So I never get a fair chance because the world won't recognize what a genius I am. Or victimized entitlement, like why should I have to work when other people have a trust fund, right? So like the victim is kind of like the through line here for me. When I've spotted this, chronically malcontent, like pissed off about everything. So if happy people continually piss you off, that's another episode that we did. Yesterday when we were at your house, somebody was looking up our episodes and they were like, "Do happy people piss you off?" And they were laughing and they were like, "No, they don't." Like I was like, "Oh, wait, that was me. Happy people used to piss me off." So I was like, "That's why." Yeah, I was like, I will admit to that. But some of this, like I was going through these descriptors and just this, and I can't reliably speak on this, but I'm wondering if there is a crossover in some neurodivergence and then how this could impact some of these, how these behaviors show up.
Maybe.
Um, because when we talk about socially awkward, like I feel like there could be some neurodivergence there, right? And that may not be narcissism. And so maybe that's an idea for a future show where we talk about getting somebody who's an expert in
Yeah,
neurodivergence to
that'd be
come and
good.
chat with us, and maybe in the context of narcissistic behavior. Um, but this person, the covert narcissist, they're a little bit harder to pick up on. So they play the victim, they guilt trip. Oh my God, that was our family pattern. Like I was trying to explain this to someone the other night. I was like, I grew up in a culture where it was all about guilt, like that guilt as a motivator. And I was like, I do not like that. Like, I do not respond well to that. Yeah. So some people might see these behaviors and ascertain that this person's struggling with low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, or just bad luck. Like they just don't, they cannot get ahead in life.
Yeah, there's a family member that all these traits, I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, yes, one of my family members plays the victim all the time, all the time. Can't do anything right. They cannot do anything right, and then complains when people help them. I'm just kind of like, all right, yeah, I'm over it. Um, yeah.
And that's another, here's another plug for one of our past episodes, the growth in the fixed mindset. Like I
Yeah.
used to have a very fixed mindset. I feel like people that have that struggling with bad luck and stuck in a rut,
Yeah.
take a look at, like, explore what a growth mindset could mean in your life. And maybe
Yeah.
you're stuck in this fixed mindset. And
Yeah,
so,
always happens to me. I can never have any good luck. It's just, I'm doomed. Well, have you decided to change the way that you want to think? Or are you just going to continue to think along those lines? And then, it always happens to me. Okay, all right. I kind of sometimes feel that these vulnerable people could also be hypochondriacs too.
perhaps, yeah, perhaps. Do you want to save the malignant narcissist for the grand finale? I feel like we need to.
I think so, because I think
Okay.
that's a biggie.
Yeah, that one is a biggie.
That one is
So
a
one of a couple of these that were surprises to me, the communal narcissist. You want to take this one, Michelle?
yeah. So this one actually, as you said that, when I was kind of like preparing, I was just like, wow, I now I was trying to think, who do I know that's in this? So they kind of see themselves as the most caring person, the most gen generous. Why can I not say that word this morning? And so they have to kind of participate in lots of activities, volunteering, fundraising, every little humanitarian thing that they want to do, they want to get into, and they want to drink it all up. Like, yeah, I did this, and I'm doing all these good deeds for these people. Um, and I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, you are doing all these good deeds, but you know, do you have to constantly remind everyone that you're doing it? Does it have to be on a newsletter or a big text, or you're constantly posting this on Facebook? Um, to kind of highlight on how amazing you are? No, you don't need to do that. I mean, it's okay. You can do it, and it's great that you'll do it, but having to be in this, making it bigger than it needs to be for you, I kind of like there's a badge of honor kind of here. Look at my big badge and what I'm doing. And doesn't it shine brightly? The beacon of sunshine. Like, okay, enough.
Yeah, like these people, the key is they get indignant when their contributions aren't recognized, like their good deeds, right? So they're seeking validation based on like good behavior. Their motivation is coming from a place of feeding their self-esteem versus wanting to show up and serve. And that can be really hard to tease out when you see
Mm.
someone doing this. Um, a lot of times good things that are good attributes of ourselves or good things, good deeds that we do can turn harmful when we overdo or when we lose focus and meaning behind them. So we all want to I think it is human nature to want to help other people.
Yes.
But when it becomes your self-esteem is tied to that work instead of it coming from a motivation to show up and serve, that's where this gets tricky. And then you get mad when people don't recognize you for that.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad because as you said, it just needs to come from the heart, regardless of, who and what you're doing, just comes from the heart. And you don't need to explain it. You don't need to highlight it. It doesn't need to be in this grand fashion, you know, as Nike says, just do it.
Yeah. I mean, so the interesting part of this is, this can show up in wellness spaces and personal development work. And
Mm.
there is very often a shadow side to any kind of wellness community that I join. And I'm always kind of like, okay, let me ascertain let me kind of get a read of who the players are and where their motivations are coming from before I get too invested.
Right.
Um, because it can be feeding someone's ego. It can be all about money and fame, instead of really trying to do, good in the world.
Hmm.
And so I'm always, kind of on guard when I join a new community of like, let me get to know these folks and really pay attention to who I will put my money and time behind.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And it can
And
be kind of disappointing sometimes when you join a community and you see some of this stuff pop up.
right, right. Which one are we going to go to next?
The somatic narcissist was an interesting one. Obsessed with physical appearance, health, or sexuality. I thought that was super interesting. Like people that are super into it sounds like a vain person, right?
Uh,
Um, yeah.
does. Got to look good at all times.
All right, which one do you want to jump into next? The self-righteous or the neglectful?
Oof. Oh, maybe the neglectful.
Okay.
Um, yeah, kind of. And maybe these are the people that don't want to reply to your texts as well. Um, Sometimes they barely respond when you talk to them and have little or no interest with you. And like sometimes you feel like a ghost and like you're a nobody in your own home sometimes. And they are just completely detached. They're lacking that empathy. They disregard, for others, don't care what's going on. They don't want to deal with any human relationship type deal. And that kind of just surprised me because I was just like, wow, I didn't realize that could be in the narcissist category. I just thought that those are the people who I just don't want to talk to or don't want to surround myself, because if you just kind of have no interest and sometimes you can detect those people like when you start at a networking event when you start talking to people and they just take no interest and it's just kind of like oh, okay I just need to move over here you know those people yeah.
Yeah, like people that no access to emotion.
Mm-mm.
No access to emotion.
No, not cool. All right, you
Uh,
want to do the finale?
wait, we got to talk about self-righteous. I thought that was an
Oh, go on.
interesting.
Yeah. Go on
So
then.
somebody who's hyper moralistic, judgmental. Oh, the judgment was just a through line for this one.
Judgy.
Whoo!
Judgy.
So they're very rigid. So almost like black, white, right, wrong in their worldview and their belief systems. So they just think that they're better than everybody else, right? And a lot of it is that their opinions, their work, their lifestyle, everything about them is superior to the other people around them, right? Um, and they expect everybody else to fall in line with how they view the world, how they operate. They don't have time for joy, laughter, silliness. I'm like, these people are miserable and they don't even understand. Like, you just sit and stew in your crock pot of judgment, and like, that's not fun, right? Yeah. So they can
I
be
can think of
obsessive about work and work ethic.
I can think of a family member though. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, and then if they do a leisure activity, they're obsessive about the details. So that was an interesting one for me. So it's like, okay, well, I have to play this game on this day when the weather is this, and this is where I'm gonna go, and like very rigid
Good luck.
and not they just like yeah, I ran into somebody recently who was extremely rigid in some of their beliefs. And I was like, okay, like that gives them a sense of control, but also I don't have to ascribe to that. Like I don't have to sign on
No,
to being limited by this person's rigidity.
no. And it's so funny because the person who I'm thinking of, I didn't invite them to my wedding and they were pissed. Pissed. But I had to, it was kind of like, you have to call me, I'm your elder. And it's just kind of like, no, you have a phone, you have my phone number, you can pick up the phone and call me. I don't have to chase after you. But I'm older than, I don't give a shit. This is a two-way thing, and you can sit and be miserable all day and complain about every goddamn person that doesn't fit to your standards. And because I didn't invite you to my wedding, you can bitch about me all day. I don't care. Because it's just like, no, I don't have to. I'm not going to be the person who is always contacting you. That is a one-way street. It's a two-way street. And if you don't want to do that and you are a member of my family, then okay, that's fine. You make that choice. But don't expect me to be following you and doing and to be at your beck and call. No, I'm so sorry. It doesn't work like that.
And that's a perfect example, Michelle, of like when we start to heal and show up differently in our relationships, things change. And sometimes it's not always for the better, right? Because the way that you have been like there is a expected pattern of behavior that you were raised with. And when you deviate from that and you start to learn and do things differently, it causes waves in relationships and yeah. But if you're expecting someone to behave a certain way or do things according to your rules, I want you to take a good hard look at yourself and your expectations. Because, I remember in Al Anon, we used to say, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And a lot of times it was like, oh, wait, I can be happy regardless. Like, I don't, it doesn't, I'm just like, okay, I can release that expectation, let that person do. The reason why I'm unhappy is because I'm trying to control this situation or this person or, yeah. And I was like, the hell with that. I don't have to do that. It's actually kind of nice to get rid of that job. So. All right, let's talk about the malignant narcissist. Do you want to? So this I was typing this out and I was like, this is kind of frightening.
It is.
So it's a mix of narcissism, like a psychopath.
Psychopath, psychopath.
It is a they're only differentiated from the psychopath by the nagging insecurity and sense of inadequacy. Psychopaths don't experience the anxiety. Um, So their rage, when they feel threatened, their rage can just ratchet up really quickly. Um, the interesting thing is a psychopath just stays calm when they're angry, which is
Crazy.
a little bit more frightening.
Yeah.
Um, they malign people publicly and harm their reputations. Very manipulative, they very transactional,
They're
very judgmental.
bullies. They're bullies and they're just mean and they're just seriously unrelenting will just keep on and on. Yeah, no, they're just and I hate the fact that they can be, when they are physically violent, they're just abusive and, cruel and, they can be nearing to paranoia at some point.
Yeah.
And yeah, these are the people I do not need to be around at all.
It's frightening to read this because you're like, am I like there are people out there that do this. I think there are some people in the public sphere that might fit this description that that you might that might be called to mind when we start describe, when we describe this person. Um, yeah, the example, the partner who isolates you from friends and blames you for being distant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that sounds like gaslighting 101 right there, right?
That was the person that I dated that I spoke about in our last podcast. Yeah. Definitely wanted to isolate me from my friends.
Yeah. And it's rooted in this control, this manipulation, and at the root of it is low self-esteem.
Yes. And he would um in any situation his from nice to anger, woo, 0 to 100 miles per hour. It was craziness, absolute craziness on how his anger just went to the next level. And some of my friends was just like, "Do you feel safe?" And I'm just like, "I do." And then there was a point where I didn't feel safe, and that was the point. I was like, "Yep, I need you to go.
Yeah.
I need you to go."
Yeah, when my personal safety felt threatened, that's when I
Yeah.
bolted. So let's chat real quick about how to spot, like, there are some clues. So feeling drained from interactions is a huge one. If you
Mm.
walk away from an interaction with someone and you just feel emotionally drained.
I also feel that the walking on eggshells and you having to lie about things is a good indicator because those are the things that I felt like I was walking on eggshells and then I was started to lie about certain things
Yeah.
just so I could cover up and just, make sure everything's happy. Oh yeah. But I'm lying.
Yeah. So
Not
you're having to go against your core values.
good. Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah. They love you until you stop agreeing with them. So if you can disagree and be kind, like, and have a kind disagreement and be like, I disagree with you. I see some of your points, but this is where I'm coming from. And you could still walk away and have respect and love for one another. That's a huge sign that you're in a healthier relationship.
And then if you're always the problem, that's got to be an alarm bell right there. You're always the problem. There's
I think,
nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them, but you are the problem. You are causing this. You are the problem. That is a red flag. Like, woo! That siren needs to be going. Someone says, "You're always the problem. You're always the problem."
yeah.
They're the problem.
Well, okay. So first, that absolute language of you're always the problem, fixed mindset, and um, that is there has to be some accountability in healthy relationships. There is accountability, and even in crappy relationships, I can see part of my part in it, right? So like be accountable if they're not accountable for anything. Yeah. So,
Crazy. It's
um,
it's I actually like talking about this subject now as an adult. I was saying as an adult as I've gotten older, and seeing these signs. It's craziness.
yeah,
It's crazy.
it has helped me um feel more grounded in my it's helped me understand people better.
Yeah.
and not take things so personally. I was having a discussion with someone the other night, and I was saying how I was disappointed in how someone was handling stress recently. And I really like this person. And the person I was talking to was like, it's really awesome that you can see that you're not the problem in this scenario, that a lot of how this person was reacted was due to their stress. And it
Mm,
wasn't necessarily because I saw this person treating other people in the same manner. It's their stress reaction.
right.
Um, and so you get that through learning about these things. And I jokingly say that, I don't have kids, so I've had a lot of time to work on myself. And that's
Hmm.
been the gift in that. And so if I can help you find like the Cliff Notes version of um, how to understand some of these things, that's one of the motivations and my passion for doing
Right.
this work.
And that's why we're here
Yes.
in this podcast.
Yes. So a couple things that we can do, like we don't want to leave you guys hopeless of like this is just your life. If you have challenging people in your life that have some of these traits.
Mm,
Boundaries. Another episode that we did earlier this season. Maybe last season. I think it was episode 7 of first season. Um, Go no
yes.
contact. So this is something I mentioned that I did in a relationship that I was constantly being hooked emotionally into fights. I had to really reel back my contact and only be very careful in communication and only communicate where necessary to wrap up some of the things that needed to be wrapped up at the end of that relationship.
Right.
And just stop reacting to the emotional hooks. Don't. And Al and I, we called it you to engage in a tug of war, you each have to be tugging on the rope. And so you can just let go of the rope.
And let them fall back. Ah!
I mean, you don't have to pick the rope. You don't even have to pick
No,
up the
you
rope. Like if they're
don't need to pick
coming,
up the word.
offering you the rope to tug of war in an argument, you don't have to pick the rope up.
No, that's very true.
So how do we combat this if we're running into this at work?
Oh gosh, you got to document everything seriously. And it's horrible the fact that you have to document everything. But if you feel that it's getting to that point, document everything. Avoid having meetings with this person one on one, and make sure you have someone else with you just so you can have that support. And just kind of avoid that emotional engagement. Seriously, it's horrible to say that because you should feel safe in your workplace and you should feel valued and respected and everything like that. But document everything, everything.
So if you're running into this in family situations, can be a little bit harder because I feel like with family, we have installed buttons. We know how
Mm,
to
mm,
send
mm.
someone to the moon very quickly. Uh, Practicing detachment, getting some freaking therapy for you and your family members if they're willing to go, and work on really understanding and being secure in yourself, your values, knowledge of, you know, where you end and others begin.
Yeah. And then if you want to reach out to a coach or a friend, obviously as we're coaches, we are going to stay professional and we're going to stay within our boundaries. Um, but then obviously as a friend, sometimes we just need to listen and sometimes we can give advice. Whether that is taken is another thing. And, if it's a good friend, you just be there to support and, try not to rescue because again, sometimes when you're in this situation, it's hard to see the wood through the trees because you're in it. And, so if you are being a friend, just be supportive, and, try not to rescue because this person has to, it's hot, it's sad. This person has to realize what is happening and then for them to kind of come out of it. And I was in that situation. Like my friends, they didn't rescue me, but they were like, yeah, we just watched, but we were supportive, and then I had to come out of it. It was hard.
Yeah.
I'm glad I came out of it.
It can be hard to watch somebody that you know is in a difficult situation figure out their way through it. But the interesting thing is sometimes they need to have those experiences or
Mm.
they need to find their way, right? So if you rescue them too soon, they might not be ready.
And that's hard.
And let me just preface that by saying, like, unless their lives are in danger,
Mm.
um, sometimes, giving them the like if their life is in danger, you might make a different call. And get professional help at that point, if that is the case. But rescuing somebody from a situation, sometimes it needs to play out, and there are things that they need to learn um in the process. And so that can be hard to sit back and watch that.
Mm. It is.
All right, are you
Then
ready
we've
for...
got the uncomfortable question, and I'm kind of like looking at them and thinking, which one do I pick?
Oh my goodness.
Um, because I was gonna go with why do we keep attracting narcissists, and what does that say about us? And it's funny because I feel that that's kind of what my friend does. She attracts them, and I attracted them. And again, I know we've spoken about it, but I literally had to change the way of how I was attracting them. I had to think differently, and as we talked about, I had to spend more time learning about people. And it sounds horrible. I would put them in situations to see how they would cope and to see what they would do with me in that situation. Because again, I had been in these like narcissistic situations before, and I'm like, I want to see what this person's gonna do. So yeah, I was kind of testing them a little bit, but then that would kind of be able to help me eliminate them pretty easily. Sad to say. Sorry. Sad to admit, but I'd put people in these situations because I'm just like, I want to see what you do. Because when you're dating someone, you know, honeymoon phase, 3 months, 6 months, and then, when it starts to get, I'm not saying it doesn't get serious, um, before 6 months, but, I want to see what this person does and whether they go along with my beliefs and values, and then to see how they come out at the other end. Are they going to be nice? Are they going to be an asshole? What are they going to do? So that's how I was able to stop attracting the narcissist, because I was able to see those things. I was like, yep, nope, don't want that. Nope, don't want that. And it's interesting because I started to attract the nicer guys, and then some of them were just too nice, obviously, But then I found my one.
And the interesting thing is when we're used to, I talked a little bit about like the pattern that feels like home, because of how we were raised. And so
Yeah.
that might be why we keep attracting narcissists, because there was some kind of pattern in our family where that felt familiar. And then when you start to change, like I was telling somebody this the other day, I was like, the people that are attractive to me now were not attractive to me 7 years ago, because of how much change I've done. And
Mm.
so, you can change, and then it's going to change the dynamic. It's gonna change the energy you're putting out and who finds you attractive and who you're attracted to. Because if you're not ready for the nice guys, they could show up and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't feel a chemistry with them, or I don't feel an attraction to them. And so there's a mismatch there. Um, so keep working on yourself would be kind of the next step.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
maybe
indeed.
pick up this book by Dr. Ramani. It's
I
not
know.
you.
I'm kind of like, you've been engrossed in it, so I feel like
Uh,
I need to put it on
kind
my
of
list.
I kind of love it. All
Good,
right.
good.
Dory's not here to do, let's do our quote and then I'll plug the next episode since Dory's not here.
Okay. So I love this quote because it's again, I feel like spoke about it. A narcissist charm is just camouflage for manipulation. The wolf in sheep's clothing. I
Um,
love.
I feel like I'm going to end with a quote by Dr. Romani. Um, Empaths and narcissists are magnetized by the same thing, unmet needs. And a lot of times, if you're a highly empathetic person, an empath, you probably heard that term, you might be attracted or attract narcissists. And
Mm,
so the interesting thing, I love that, we're we are basically two opposites of the same spectrum, right? Narcissists and empaths are really trying to solve the problem of unmet needs. So, and the way that I have been able to heal some of that is how can I meet some of my own needs so that I'm not searching for that in a partner. They're adding to the awesomeness that I bring to the equation, not filling every need that I have. Does that make sense?
mm, mhm. Yeah.
So yeah.
I enjoy talking about this topic just because even though it's bringing up memories, it's just kind of like, yes, no, I don't, I can spot these people now. I
I
can
feel
spot.
like the more that I learn about human behavior, um, I take things less personally.
Mm,
And it's helped me understand because I used to just walk through the world feeling like, damn, this is hard, you know? But I've learned so much in the last 5 years about human behavior and how to take things less personally and how to work with, most people, um, how to forge really strong bonds with people. Um, and I do it out of a fascination. I've always enjoyed getting to know people. Um, but I took a suicide intervention class a couple weeks ago, and it was such a diverse group of folks in that room, talking about a really, really deep topic. But there
hmm
were some people in there that I just were just magical in their humanness. They were really cool people. Um, and it was a really cool, for some, like, I think a lot of people were like, oh my God, that's like such a serious topic. And that must have been a depressing class. But I feel like we really did bond. So we're talking about hard stuff. And it was incredible to see all of these people from various walks of life showing up and serving the community, um, by getting this training so that we can intervene if someone is thinking about taking their life. But I
mm,
just love connecting with humans, and this is a piece of understanding human behavior. And so I've enjoyed it too.
yeah.
All
Now
right.
we shared it with the world. Yes.
So, if you have more questions about narcissists or our experience or our viewpoint on it, you can always submit questions on our little feedback form or just comment on the video. Be sure, especially if you're watching us on YouTube, to like and subscribe. It helps us so much. And the next episode, we're going to be talking about, I was telling Michelle before when we got started, like, I just feel like everybody is like two steps away from losing their shit right now.
On
Everybody's
edge.
on edge.
Survival mode.
Yeah. And
Fantastic.
so we're going to talk about, are you on edge? How we're staying sane in an insane world. And just like, how are just to bring some light to this. Um, it can be hard being a human right now and interfacing with other humans who are on edge. And so giving each other a little bit of grace. Um, it's yeah. So we're going to talk about it because I
Yeah.
think it's important, for us to have a tether to humanity and to compassion and to interacting with other people as human beings.
And that's our bonus session. That's our bonus one, right? And
I
then we're gonna
mean, we
break.
didn't say how many episodes we're going to be in season two. This is 10, so that could be a bonus episode. But
Mm.
I also kind of feel like the train is going. Why do we need to pause it?
I know. I know.
So, if you guys have something that you want to hear us talk about, if you have a
Yes.
situation you want to hear us dissect on the air, please send us you can send us an email, lifecoachesunfiltered@gmail.com, or submit a question, situation, whatever you want to talk about on our feedback form. And the link is below in the show description. And
Yes.
we'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
See you guys. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Life Coaches Unfiltered. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or follow us on social media. Got a question you've been afraid to ask? Send it our way at lifecoachesunfiltered@gmail.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep questioning, and stay unfiltered.